welcome to the Logjam Finals week. You better slow them Mustangs down, Joel. Them ponies running too fast.
Well, that's going to be the goal of the Avengers this week for sure. And congratulations, brother, on the finals. That is well deserved, and I couldn't be happier. Well, I could be happier, but I'm just saying, sitting next to you, losing to you, and having you go to the finals sucks. But at the same time, you know, I'd rather that than 8 other possibilities. So congratulations, and go get them this week.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. We don't have a historian this year. By our count, I think it's the 9th time the Avengers have been to the finals.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's probably like, I don't know, it's probably 10. It's probably 10, but we'll say 9. And this is your chance to win your second championship.
Yeah, we know it's at least the second or third for the Zorros. I know they had a tough loss to the Titans back in the day on a last-ditch play. Should be exciting, man. It's been the 2 highest-scoring teams over the course of the last few weeks, the 2 hottest teams.
Yes.
They're meeting in the finals.
Yes. As far as, I mean, if you're still watching these pods and watching the league, this is the best 2 teams in the league, in my opinion, as far as roster. They both put up about 185 last week, so this should be just fireworks. You know, really something fun to watch. And again, 2020 hasn't given us much, but as far as the fantasy football season, it's actually been kind of an awesome year.
It really has gone. It has gone great. I mean, not from a performance standpoint. The intrigue, I think, of losing players without having to deal with any really serious issues,
right,
which I think was great to avoid it, avoiding a shutdown, avoiding entire teams not being able to play for weeks at a time. The NFL really did a remarkable job.
They did a remarkable job. They did it without a bubble. They did it where, I know in our restaurant, I was still seeing people like DeAndre Hopkins, Kyler Murray, Christian Kirk. I mean, we're talking high performance. I mean, so somehow they did it, and good for them. I mean, we moved a lot of games. We got a lot of primetime games. And you know what's crazy is I think out of this, honestly, the NFL is going to see that like there's viable Tuesday night games. There's viable there's a whole different. There are so many games on Sunday that are not televised in your area or what have you that it could create some other options.
It's always been crazy to me that you might have 9 or 10 games in the same 3-hour window. Don't get me wrong, I love it. I love football and having it on all the TVs, but at some point there is a saturation level.
Well, unless you're a DirecTV subscriber, right? I mean, that's the only people who get a chance to see it.
I mean, having Red Zone is great. It's a great way to watch it. I honestly prefer a situation where I can see all the screens and zero in on the sound of the game I want to watch, so I can make the cuts instead of letting DirecTV do it. They do a great job. They're scoring teams, but I might wanting to watch this quarterback and this receiver and see what they're doing and what this defense looks like, rather than who is in the red zone, but how drives are starting or progressing or the different things. But that being said, Tuesday night games, Thursday night games, the crack on those is you don't have enough time to recover and the bodies. But let's take COVID away. Let's have reliably played games where we're not worrying about a shutdown. I believe there's probably a mathematician or an analytics guy in the league office somewhere.
Tuesday, so next
Tuesday
week
to
the Thursday game.
And they just rotate through, and your divisions rotate through, and you it seems to me like a feasible thing to monopolize. I don't want to say monopolize more windows, but take advantage of other times that people can watch more of your product.
Yeah,
it is mind blowing that doesn't happen.
And I think that this, as like I was saying, as of any of this might create a window of them saying, well, maybe not every night, right? But like, let's do a Saturday game. Let's do a Saturday game every week.
I mean, it's great. I mean, we had two this week.
We have one this week. Cardinals.
And this is the time of year when college football typically has ended. College football is a whole other fucking disaster that we don't need to get into. Yeah. But it's always made sense to me. You're not going to need to argue to me that the NFL should play in more windows. It's exciting. It's great. Love to see it this time of year. As far as the league, maybe not as exciting of matchups as we were hoping for. I know,
some of them were.
Yeah, there was a couple.
I mean, I just don't think they were in the actual big boy semifinals. There was a,
let's start. What we said was probably the most single excitement was the toilet bowl. Again, a 2-week matchup, a matchup that is going to continue next week.
Yes.
But what appeared to be an OBJ win, 139 to 124, actually is a Young lead. Young is going to lead 123.62 to 117.06.
Yes.
Something we'll have to track offline because ESPN doesn't track that for us. But the reason...
Well, let's get into it for a minute. So just, there are particular situations, there are anomalies to any situation. But in this case, we're talking about a rule. And the reason we're talking about, first of all, let's get to it. So OBJ is going to lose points.
He's going to lose 21.5 points from Leonard Fournette. The reason
which
being,
is his highest scoring
running
player
back.
at the position that he
left Rashard Penny on the IR on Saturday, not Sunday. The Seattle Seahawks activated Rashard Penny to their active roster.
Correct.
It was a situation wherein, I know we're not supposed to talk about other leagues. This is the only league I'm in, but even in this league, I thought, I'm sure he's on somebody's roster. I looked it up. Of course, he was on OBJ's roster. I was like, oh, that's savvy. Keep him on your IR. Of course. Why would you let him go? He could next year could be the guy there, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of great reasons for that. But I don't have any reason to call and say, hey, man, I wonder if he's going to take him off his thing. Like, that's his business, right? That's his GM. They're filing the paperwork. They're making the moves. They're doing the thing.
And the reason that we have this particular rule, let's just say, is twofold. And let's talk about the first one. And that is to be paying attention. Okay, and like you just said, hey, I went and looked, I searched and said, who has Rashard Penny? Not because you wanted to pick him up, right?
No,
you
because
were looking to pick up.
I wasn't looking to pick him up to start him, but I was looking up to make sure that you didn't have a chance to start him because I know Chris Carson's there, and if there was a Chris Carson,
did I handcuff him?
Of course I would.
Well, guess what? I was unable to handcuff him
because he was already on a roster.
Which brings me to the second point, real quick, which is we made this rule so that you can't hoard players. In this particular situation, that isn't really the issue because Steve Faulkner has 3 other players on his active roster this week who were ruled out. So that
4 actually: Damian Harris, Antonio Gibson, Kenny Golladay.
Yep. Which is the 4th? I don't remember the 4th.
Maybe it was just 3.
I think it's 3.
It is 3.
So he had 3 players that he could have switched out and just literally switched out Rashard Penny with that player. So the argument of like, hey, it's not that big of an issue. I understand the argument. However, the rule is you have to be paying attention, which is the first thing I was saying. And the reason we built this league and we made a lot of these rules is to make sure. The only reason that there's a goddamn blue ball bowl is to make sure you're paying attention and you continue to play. We don't want a league where people sleep until noon and forget to put people in. That's not what this league is about. This league is a little bit more for the hardcore fantasy football player. And we need you to be paying attention. You know what? Let me just say this. Gary, the new guy, okay? Gary New Guy. I haven't saved my phone that way. But Gary New Guy almost played an IR player.
Yeah.
Actually, I know, you little fucker, that you did it in the other league. Yeah, you did. You slept in and you lost in the other league because you played an IR player. Well, this league, we don't tolerate that shit. Thank God you woke up and you picked up Jackass and you started him over Ezekiel Elliott and you avoided a fine. And guess what? The new guy was paying attention.
Yep.
The new guy made sure that he didn't play an active player 10 minutes before the game.
I would like to say I think Steve's point is well taken.
It is well taken.
That a portion of that rule is to prevent someone from hoarding players. The fact that you have 4 hurt guys, that's great. That's all well and good. But hey, man, you got to file the correct paperwork on time because no matter what you say about the intent of that rule and where it's placed in the rule book started from number 1 when we started talking about each and every one of these rules. How do we make sure that everyone is paying attention every week and we don't have people doing things like having guys in the car not starting?
Yeah, I don't think this is, like I said, I don't think this is a position of the rule where he's hoarding players. It's not. And
I guess that point was well taken. And in this league, if 8 people and 10 people decide, or even I guess 7 people to change the rule technically, decide that, well, okay, if I have 4 other guys, I get it. Well, then let's just vote for 4 IR spots. which we did this year, but 2 of them are COVID. We
Right.
still said you only get 2 IR spots,
Yeah.
and the rule is make sure that none of those guys are active. It's just as simple. It's just as simple as that.
And if we as a group think that it's ridiculous to have 3 guys on your bench that are out, and you didn't switch them out, and we need more IR spots, then we agree on that, and we vote that. But that's not the way the rule is last week.
I mean, it could kudos to him for not, trying to skirt the rules or doing anything else. It is just a lack of, it's an oversight of not knowing that happened, not having an alert on those players.
I agree with you. I think it's shitty. It's shitty because he gets fined. It's shitty because he loses points and possibly obtains blue balls.
Here's the good news.
How do we do this? How do we not say this is the rule and we have to follow?
I don't think there's no question in my mind the rule is the rule.
I'm sorry.
I think that the silver lining here is it is halftime and it's a 6-point game.
Yeah, other than the money out of pocket. Other than the
money out of pocket, but that's, hey man, I think it's not the first time this year. There was the Pittsburgh defense start. There was I don't know if it was an Eckler or there was another start. I think it happens. It just rules is rules.
Rules are rules. It's not Nam, Donnie.
All right. Well, that'll get us to what we thought was the actual game of the week. 2 teams that had things gone the other way could have been a semifinal matchup, or at least could have been a round 1 matchup. The Fury come back, of course, with the late rally with guess who, and get Poway 172-161.
And like you said, I was hoping that game of the week came from our matchup or came from Zorro's, scoregasms, but it didn't. It came from but what a game, man! This was fun to watch. If you were paying attention, other than obviously Chris and Poway,
there was long periods of time where the newfangled win probability was exactly even, 0.1, 0.2, 0.4, even the time where it was exactly 50-50, but it was a couple points off. It was fantastic.
But, this is also a battle. If you're looking at the playoff picture, this is a battle for first overall pick. That's why these 2 teams are playing.
Ultimately what they're playing for.
And Chris moves on. Poway moves down to play for the 5-6.
Play for 3-4.
3-4. Oh,
yep.
Geez, like that doesn't suck. So he moves down to play for the 3-4. But the Fury moves on to play for 1 and 2. And good for them.
He does. That is because the Sin in the other matchup takes care of Daddy pretty handily. Wasn't that a huge game, but Daddy would have really had to scramble to get back in this one.
Unfortunately, the Daddy put up a kind of a dud.
Who's your Duddy?
Yeah, well, we know who it was. It was Tom Farrell, and it was just unfortunately a kind of a dud week at the wrong time, and Sin, who is an OG, right, gets to move on and have a chance at that number 1 overall pick. And again, we saw this. Was it this year where he had the number 1 pick and he had he had McCaffrey? Was that this year?
So he's had McCaffrey for quite a few years.
Yeah,
I had the first overall.
Okay. You had the first overall pick this year. Did you trade for it?
I traded back for with
so you had it. You had it by rights. So the year before this, he had it and traded back because he had Christian McCaffrey. So
the rest of the league, I think, obviously rooting for Sin to prevail because it gives you a shot if you want to go and pay for the number 1 pick.
I agree.
If a team
that was kind of where I was going.
If a team's in the number 1 spot that with not an obvious first round keeper, they're not trading away.
Which is the Fury.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of we're not picking games maybe yet, but I'm kind of hoping that the Sin win here because we all want to make deals.
Absolutely. Daddy goes back and does face Poway in the other matchup. I guess that gets us to the semifinals. Again, we were hoping they were closer than they ended up. I think I was the only one that felt our game was closer than it appeared to be.
Yes, you were.
My nervous energy and my staring down the 63 from Tyreek Hill and potential, Pittsburgh and all the different scenarios that could have gone down. I guess I got you pretty clean.
I think you did, and if I think if you go back to footage from like week 3 or 4, I think you'll probably find me complimenting your roster and calling it one of the best teams. And then we went through a lot of injuries, and you went through
a couple of weeks where I didn't start the right people, some questionable coaching decisions.
But as far as roster construction, again, I believe the best 2 teams are in the finals. I really do believe that, and that's what makes it fun to watch. Fantasy football feels like it rarely works out that way for some reason. And 2020, as fucked up as it is, finally gave us a year that feels like it was a straight shot. So,
hey man, I hope that both teams score 180 plus next week.
So do I.
I hope that we can really put on a show.
Well,
it'd be great.
awesome
It'd be great.
right?
It'd be cool. It'd be cool to have a.
And both of you have the rosters to do it. No question asked. There's fireworks on both of those rosters.
I don't know. I don't think my rosters, my matchups next week maybe portend those kinds of numbers yet. But at any rate, it was a well fought match. It was a tiebreaker. You had beat me early in the year. I got you late.
Yep.
I think our career long rivalry's got to be right at 500 or just a little. I think with that game, maybe one game over.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's and that's what makes a rivalry, right? I mean, at one point, Michigan-Ohio State was a rivalry. No, it was. I remember when I could say, well, Michigan's won 100 times and Ohio State's won 101 or 100 or 99, whatever it was. We're not there anymore, but it feels like that type of rivalry where we can be civil about it, especially because we have to, because we do the show. We have to sit next to each other.
I think the downside of that is you just compared me to Ohio State, and fuck that. I mean, you would obviously be Michigan.
Ohio State.
Could you be as a Michigan guy? I don't think that's.
No, I mean, I don't know.
Neither one of us really wants to be Ohio State. No. I get the analogy. We'll work backwards from there. The other matchup felt close through the mid-afternoon. I think really right up until Gary sends the text, I'm in a toss-up with the best team in the league, and the fantasy gods smote him.
Yeah. Well, Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill.
The Mustangs started. Mustangs Sally started getting up and sallying on his ass.
But let's say this. First of all, Joel, you deserve to be in the finals. Your team is well constructed. You did not trade your way out of a championship this year. You traded your way into
the
one.
Derrick Henry pickup on an already massive roster just looks like It started as the Dalvin Cook trade, which I weaseled my way into. But man, what a chess move to jump back over and just come back. I'm not gonna go back over Derrick Henry. I'm gonna go.
If we're gonna pick manager of the year, if that's in our abilities, my vote's definitely Joel. Definitely Joel. From acquiring draft picks last year to moving into a good draft this year to then making those trades, losing Dalvin Cook trade like that.
His draft he always takes a lot of flyers. Like he said in the thread, he's got maybe 7, 8, 9, 10 guys that could legitimately buy round and buy predictions next year. Keepers. I think he deserves some credit for the Ryan Tannehill pickup.
If you could find a hole on his roster, it would be possibly because he has Drew Brees, right? So as
he had Brees, and even Matt Ryan had big weeks.
Yeah, but Brees is struggling. In addition to the injury,
he got broken. He needed some help
prior to the injury in the rib thing. You could say that he wasn't throwing the ball down the field 30 yards. I mean, it was coming to an end of. It's fine. He's amazing, but let's just be real. And then he has another quarterback. You can remember off your round. Anyway,
Matt Ryan.
Yes, thank you. You just said it. But Matt Ryan, great quarterback, right? But at the same
up and down.
At the same time, up and down.
But he has 3 guys to choose from and has been dialing up the right number for what man.
Pickup. Oh my god, dude! I think it was mid-October, maybe mid-October. The guy picks up Ryan Tannehill, and this guy has put up. What'd you say?
43 points this week.
43 this week, but I'm gonna guess that he hasn't put up less than 20 in majority of the year. Like this has been an underrated great pick. That's why I'm giving him manager of the year. From keepers to draft to pick up to moves played. Dude, the guy scored 2,025 fucking points this year.
There's a period of time where each of these people, Devontae Adams, Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, and even A.J. Brown were their position's number 1 guy in that given week.
Ridiculous.
And guess what? The guy that had tombstones written with his name, with his epitaph on it, David Montgomery, Well, guess what? They figured out in Chicago who their best player was, and now all of a sudden he's getting
It's
all
the
the touches.
Yep.
That is not that 32 number from David Montgomery is not an anomaly.
No,
This
they
is
just finally figured out how to use them. Hopefully they figured out that Mr. Trubisky's trash, and they fucking get somebody in there to help David Montgomery out. Maybe David Montgomery should play quarterback.
Andrews is a pickup, another pickup to become a tight end, a move that he makes to shore up a roster. The Pittsburgh defense is there. Tyler Bass has been the best. Like Tyler Bass with 12, I think he had 10 last week, 9 the week before. Has put up big numbers. This is
he's no Young Hoku, but he's a stud.
He's no Young Hoku. Tyler Bass and Rodrigo Blankenship were also Avengers this year, but I was forced to make some roster moves. It's a really good team. It's a well constructed team. He's got to be the favorite.
Okay, so we just spent 3 minutes blowing the Mexican on this channel, right, Joel? What I'm gonna say now is
we don't know making picks yet. Until we go.
What I'm gonna say now is this: we're not making picks, but what you did last week, or 10 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago, it doesn't matter. I mean, it just doesn't matter. This comes down to, oh man, I can't wait for this matchup. This comes down to punch for punch. Who I'm going to crown manager of the year, and Joel versus just Tom, who I'm going to crown, maybe the last 5 or 6 years manager of the year with
0 titles.
Well, yeah, but that's fine. You know the keepers you've made, the move it's been. I'm excited for this year. This is going to be a great matchup.
All right. Well, going back into predictions, I'm just taking a note of who we picked the first time through. Young and Confused has the lead. You picked them last week to win this matchup. Are you sticking with it?
No. I'm switching, and I'm going to go with OBJYN. Why? Because he's pissed off. And nothing makes a better roster than a pissed off manager and a pissed off team ready to play. And OBJ's roster sucks. I'm sorry, Young and Confused roster sucks. So I think OBJ...
He won this week by 15. Yeah. I think he'll win again next week by 15 or more. Yeah. I don't see any reason to change my pick. I think OBJ wins this matchup, avoids the blue balls for a second time.
Other than the fine that hurts, he at least doesn't get the balls. That's my pick too.
Absolutely. The matchup, I guess it's the losers of the losers bracket, if you will. Poway, who's your daddy, playing for picks 3 and 4?
Wow. These
are better teams than you would think we'd be playing for 3 and 4.
I do, but at the same time, these are two rosters. I look at Billy's roster, and they've played well and maybe overperformed. Okay, I look at Daddy's roster, and they've played well. I think they've underperformed. That's the way I really feel about these rosters. But at the same time, we're looking at playoff matchup. We're looking at, oh man, I haven't looked at fucking the matchups, but I'm gonna go Poway.
Poway gets Darren's pick. I don't know if Daddy necessarily underperformed. He had a run this week where we thought he was maybe the hottest team from weeks. What was it, week 4 to week 8 or 9? That was a roster that put numbers 4th most points on the year.
Well, and at the end of the year,
he did the playoffs.
He picked it up. He picked it up. But at the beginning of the year, the first 4 or 5 weeks, Daddy was trying to stay in the playoffs. He finished 3rd overall. He finished second in points, 3rd in points, 4th in points. I'll get there. But I just think with that roster, like we talked about at the beginning of the year, I thought he was
destined for. I thought he was headed there. So I guess that's another performance. I think there's a rebound this week. I'll just put I'll say Daddy wins this game. But quick shout out, happy birthday to Poway Titans and Billy McAllister.
Absolutely, happy birthday, Billy. And
we'd like to get you back on as soon as possible.
Yeah, at some point, as soon as you're allowed out of the house.
As soon as the warden says, hey man, you can stop by.
It's okay. You can go hang out with your friends because I'm tired of seeing you. I don't know how long that'll take. But
playing for the first overall pick, the Fury, at 9 and 4 plus the loss and the win, 10 and 5 on the year. Cardinal Sin, 4 and 11.
It's been a rough year. It's been a couple rough years for Cardinal Sin, and I also feel like it's almost not because of roster construction. You know,
What's it from?
I don't know. He's got decent play. Well, it's because of lack of a quarterback. First of all, I mean that's number one, but he has playmakers.
It's quarterback attrition. He had quarterbacks.
Well, he
had
lost
many
8,
quarterbacks.
right.
Just none of them stay healthy.
Yeah, but that's this year. But even the quarterback
Going back a few years,
it's a big position, right?
Yeah.
So it's the haves and the have-nots, and Corey's on the side of the have-nots, and hasn't been able to find a Ryan Tannehill. So that's been a big part of it. But and health, right? Christian McCaffrey being his stud player has not been healthy. But I just feels like Monday night ugly luck for the Sin. And I don't know if he needs to sacrifice a chicken or if he needs to fuck somebody in the back of a Mustang. I don't know what it is, but something needs to happen.
So does that mean you think the luck is changing? You're taking the Sin here?
No, I'm just saying Gary's available. If they have a Mustang, they should get after it. Wait, what? What did you say?
Who are you picking?
I'm taking the Sin.
He is taking the Sin, absolutely. I don't see any way to not pick the Fury in this game. I think this is just Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce themselves might
he's playing the Fury?
Yeah, might get 129.
I'll take the Fury.
Heard.
Sorry.
Unanimous. We think the Fury is getting the first pick. I don't know who they took this year, but I would imagine they're not going to keep him in the...
Joe Burrow.
He didn't take Joe Burrow in the first round, but I'm a little bit surprised he did.
Should've.
He almost traded for him at the deadline. Playing for the 7th, 8th pick, I guess probably bearing the lead, playing for the 3rd place and 4th place overall. But I don't think they're concerned about those two places. Maybe a little bit of the prize money for sure. But in playing for the picks next year, actually, technically these guys aren't. The winner actually picks 8th and the loser picks 7th, so they're not actually playing for that all. I digress.
Yeah, but what they're playing for is for their. I think it's their. If I read the rule book, I think it's their fee back. I think their entry fee comes back to them.
It's a nice chunk of change.
Yeah.
Scoregasms.
It's at least worth putting a lineup in.
Absolutely. You gotta play. I think the Scoregasm's coming down off of 149. Pimps at 130 was a little disappointing this week. I think the Pimps get him here.
Well, I hope you're right, but to my pick, the Pimps, we just haven't put up numbers over the last couple. It's been 128, 120. So I don't know. I haven't looked at the matchups, but I'm probably not for jinx reasons at all. But I don't think the Pimps survive this week. I think it might be Scoregasm's kind of night.
Interesting. Well, there isn't much left to talk about. There's only one game left on the slate for next week. It is the championship game of the League of Gentlemen 2020. It pits the 9-5 first place Zorros.
Yes.
9-4 versus the 8-5 fifth place Avalon Avengers.
Yeah.
Who you like?
I like both teams in this matchup. I don't really know, man. I think it comes down to. I mean, obviously it's finals, so it comes down to matchups. It comes down to who you're going to decide as a manager to play. It decides on weather conditions. It decides on. There's so many things going into this. So I don't know. Do I play the Jinx and do I not? Okay, I'm going to take the Zorros. They have by far the best team I've ever seen constructed. And by the way, most teams that win the first overall position always win the championship, from what I remember. So I'm just going to err on the side of me being right here, and I'm going to take the Zorros because Joel's the best team that's ever played.
Best team in the history of the League of Gentlemen.
Yes.
He's going to cement that this
Yep.
week. Zorros have to win this game. They're going to win this game. It's predestined. There's a star right there, right by their name.
Yep.
Zorros, we're engraving your name on the championship. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Joel. Great year, buddy. He will get the trophy over to you soon. Benner's got to get it. I think it's Benner's job, right?
Billy's got to get to Benner. Benner's got to get it engraved. Apparently, we haven't approved any extra panels yet, so that's not the case. Maybe we'll do the engraving, and then Benner can get some stuff approved for panels. You can take it then.
I think that's a good idea.
We'll see how it goes. Outside of that, what are you gonna go for Christmas? Are you excited?
I don't. I am excited for Christmas. Merry Christmas to all of you, except Gary, and Happy Hanukkah to you. And
it's over, but it was. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed.
I hope you enjoyed your 8 crazy nights.
Yeah.
And enjoy working with me on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, because that's where I'll be. So, Merry Christmas, guys. Good luck to you. Good luck to you, buddy. Good luck to anybody playing for anything left. We'll divvy the cash out. We'll let you know. Obviously, Tom Farrell's in charge of that kind of thing, and he's sending out. We're constantly in touch with him. So as far as payouts, we'll get them. Let's just let it play out, and then give us what?
A couple weeks.
Less than a week. I think we can do it in a week. I'm pretty sure we can do it in a week. And
depends on if we have to get pennies for Benter or not.
Yeah, we might have to get changed for Benner. Well, he's not even in the money game, so we'll get it paid out quickly. Thanks for watching.